we need like an aspect stash tab where it shows like your best aspect of each one, and then like your 2 or 3 alternates that you have saved up. Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. Diablo 4 has been out for about a week. I've been grinding it super hard. I've got a character at level 85. I've got a couple others over 50 and all of that. Didn't really sleep for the first few days of release. So I wanted to get a video out here talking on the channel about some of the good, some of the bad, and just kind of my honest overarching thoughts now that the game is out. How do I feel that Diablo 4 is going to do long term? What are some things that we really need in game? And just have a discussion about the overall Diablo 4 experience as of right now that we can more fully understand it. So let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, there is a lot that's good. There's a lot that's right about Diablo 4. So I don't want it to come off in this video like I'm ranting or complaining. I love Diablo 4, and I think it's going to have a very robust community, and it's going to be a staple in the gaming sphere for like the next 5 to 10 years. I think the canvas is there. If Blizzard does a good job nurturing this product, then it could really be a success. But there is definitely a lot of things that very obviously need addressed. So first of all, in terms of good, the game on release has been mostly playable. It's not like it's been down for 8 hours. I haven't really had an experience where I'm sitting 4 hours in queue. So all in all, I would give them like, it's not like Diablo 3 where on launch night with error 37, no one could do anything. And I remember the first night that Diablo 3 came out, I think it was like 12 hours until I could play at all. So, it has been a lot better than previous iterations, but they have had some issues with downtime and stuff like that. And that's to be expected when it's the most busy week of the game on opening launch week, especially this first weekend here. Also, the design of the game is very good. The open world map has a lot of life to it. There's a lot of differences in the areas. There's lots of different mechanics. It feels alive. You have like different types of animals and different things that you run into, world events and hell tides and all sorts of different towns that have a different feel to them. So you really feel it when you are traversing around that you are in an open world experiencing Diablo. And then also like the visuals and the aesthetics and the sound is amazing in this game. So the overall just design of the game is very good for a Diablo game. And also on release, there's a lot to do. You have the nightmare dungeons, you have the renown grinding, you have the different altar mechanics, you have the campaign, you've got all of the different ways to farm XP, splitting up in dungeons and grinding. You can play solo, you can play in a group. You have to go around the open world collecting materials to make elixirs, to make your XP more efficient. So there is a lot of different stuff to do, a lot of different vendors, upgrading at the blacksmith, re-rolling at the occultist, crafting sigils, upgrading your gems, socketing your gear. There is a lot of life to the game in terms of like building a champion right out the gate. So that is really good. But now I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that could definitely use some love and attention to make the game go and ascend to that next level. First of all, the social aspect feels very dead in this game. It's mostly like an MMO RPG. So why not bring that to life? There's no communities. Like if I open up the chat and start tabbing through stuff, we don't have like any trading chats. We don't have like leveling chats, end game chats where people can share yellows, share loot, trade with each other, recruit for clans and all of that. It is a little bit of a slippery slope because Blizzard is opening themselves to being spammed by some of these different services out there that are trying to spam their websites or whatever for Diablo 4. So I think with Blizzard's budget though, they could have moderators and a moderator team that is cruising through these different avenues and making sure spam isn't occurring and make the game feel a lot more alive. Like in Diablo 3, you can have communities where you are able to have power leveling communities or recruiting communities or people that want to run bounties. You pop into the community and you say, hey, anybody got a group, want to group up for bounties? We need some of those social aspects in Diablo 4. Also, I know this won't pertain to everybody, but for me, I'm in a clan that is maxed out with 150 people, by the way. That's the max. And we really have no tools to running a clan effectively because there is no like activity. We can't see someone's like full breakdown of how much they're playing each class and how often they're logged in and everything going on. Like if I click on view profile for myself, it's super lame. Like it's just showing my basic info here, the Diablo 3 one was way more robust. It was showing your hour breakdown per class on a non-season and season, and you could see everything kind of laid out right there. On Diablo 4, we just get this little tab, and like, what does this tell me? It doesn't even tell me the level on here, I don't think. It just shows my character. I don't see the stats or the power or anything. It would be really nice if we had some tools to really have a clan. Like if it had it sorted by like the strongest people in the clan based on like account power, you know, how many different heroes they have, and it added up their stats and some algorithm, and then it showed their different cosmetics and what their heroes look like, and you have like a clan, a gallery, or like a friends list gallery. We need some cool stuff like this in the game to bring it to life, to spice it up, have communities, have better profiles. And some of that stuff is really cool and will help people interact and have something to pursue in the social aspect of the game. Also, maybe this is going to be a hot take, but towns need a lot of work, in my opinion. It's cool. I like what they're doing. They're trying to give each town a specific feel and have a different layout and have it be more realistic, but it is so annoying that like a lot of these areas you can't even see your stash. Like sometimes it's not on the mini map until you like get close enough, and then your stash will appear on the mini map, and then you end up with these situations where okay, I gotta go to the blacksmith and salvage this. Oh wait, that's an aspect that I want to save, so I gotta run over to the occultist for 30 seconds. Oh no, okay, now I gotta go back to the blacksmith, and you end up spending like hours a week literally just traversing town, and it definitely needs to be adjusted. I don't know what they could do to alleviate it. They could make your mount move like 3 times the speed in town or something, or I know in Hellfire they addressed it by adding town run. In Diablo 1, your character would move way faster in town. And then, in Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, they kind of kept things pretty close together. The towns in Diablo 3, you'd have everything kind of right there. So I would definitely like to see that, at least like a little station next to the waypoint where you've got like a little station with the blacksmith and your stash, like right here. That way, when I port into town, I've got my stash and a way to like salvage gear or whatever quickly. I understand it might be tough to make it like environment aesthetically pleasing, but we need some sort of way to make some of these wonky mechanics in traversing the different towns a little bit more quality of life for the player. And we also desperately need a loot filter in this game. It's really tedious to have to pick up every single yellow and look at it, which you kind of do because you can't tell on the ground. It does tell you end game if it's a sacred or an ancestral, and then a lot of times you just pick up the ancestrals, but you still don't know. Like 98% of them are going to be complete trash, and you have no way of knowing that. You have to literally pick them all up and read them manually. So you sit here like when you're trying to sell, and you're like, okay, 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 and it takes so long. Like in Diablo 3, you go to town, you crunch, you gamble, and you're back in after salvaging. It takes like 7 seconds total. But in Diablo 4, it takes a long time. We need some sort of way to be able to tell on the ground, or at least like set an item power parameter. Like, hey, I only want to see ancestrals above 750 item power. Everything else is just automatically crunched for materials, or it's just automatically indicated that it is an item, or it's like, half grayed out or something. There's a million ways they could do it, but it is definitely one of the most tedious RPGs I've ever played in terms of trying to sift through your inventory. And speaking of the inventory, it definitely needs a lot of love. I think it's great that they have these different tabs and you don't just have everything crunched into one space. But let's go ahead and ramp this up. Let's make it a little bit bigger. There's no point in making the inventory super tiny. It doesn't like increase immersion or something. We need like one more row on the equipment, and the gems obviously need their own tab. Everybody knows that's true, and I believe Blizzard has confirmed that that is coming. And we're also, I did a dedicated video here on the channel talking about we're getting some new gems in the game. It looks like I saw like a data mine on Twitter that there could be 3 more levels of gems, and that's definitely needed because the gem system is super lame right now in game. So that's going to get a lot better. I hope they add the tab there for the gems, but I hope they don't stop there because this definitely needs a lot of work and could be a lot better in terms of the inventory. Also, the renown system is, I'm a little bit worried about it. I'm a little bit hesitant. Like, I honestly, I'm not even 100% sure. I think we're going to have to do this once every season, and I really hope that's not the case. I've heard like different people tell me different things, like, no, your renown is going to stay with you on seasons, or no, you're going to have to do it once every season. I do like how at least it goes from character to character. Like when I start a new character, I've got extra skill points here because I've got at least all of these check marks on the renown to get the skill points. But it's not like fun. I understand you want mechanics in the game where you're forced to traverse the whole map and learn the game and interact with the different mechanics. So all in all, I'm mostly okay with it. I'm not griping too hard about the renown system, but it's also like, I mean, 60,000 gold, like really 60,000 gold. That's like selling what, 2 yellows for level 4 renown. Like let's spice this up a little bit. Let's make it a lot more sought after. And the first 3 are good because you're getting like skill points and potion capacity and stuff like that. But the obols, that's another discussion. The obols just end up feeling really lame. The gambling system was a little bit more fleshed out in Diablo 3. The obols are kind of like the blood shards from Diablo 3, but you don't get enough of them. You don't get to do it often enough, and it just doesn't feel impactful enough to actually be a worthwhile system in the game, at least how it's currently designed. But I will say you do definitely want to do your renown, and I need to, like, I'm putting it off because it's not going to be fun. I have to like go around and tediously do all this renown, and when I log in, I want to play with my friends and I want to grind XP or nightmare dungeons and all that. So one of these days I'm going to have to just bite the bullet and go through and do all my renown, because you do get all of these Paragon points, which, speaking of the Paragon points, the Paragon tree, it's an absolute tragedy that you can't reset this. Like it should tell you, there should be like a button over here on the top right, like reset Paragon, and it should say it's going to cost this much. Are you sure? It's going to refund all of your points and all of your glyphs and everything, because you literally have to go through here and like right click individually through all like 100 of these points to reset it and mess with your boards. So I like what they're doing in terms of creativity. The Paragon board is interesting, and I think there's a lot of potential here long term to get a lot of customization in Diablo 4 and have a lot of really interesting builds and really interesting nodes, and release new Paragon boards for seasons and stuff like that to unlock different balance and different builds to enable them and stuff. So I kind of like where their head's at in terms of an overall design, but the Paragon board needs a lot more quality of life, because there's all sorts of little random stuff it could do. Like right now, I've got this glyph socket in here that scales with dexterity. So just simple stuff like it could just light up every dexterity node around that glyph. And it's not needed, but it would just be these little quality of life things. A reset button on your Paragon board, lighting up the nodes that are going to be in relation to the glyph you're using. And all of these sorts of stuff will make the Paragon experience a lot more enjoyable. The skill tree, I'm mostly okay with. It's kind of going back to the roots of Diablo 2, where you've got like your different sections of what to go in, and then you have a maximum amount of points that you can allocate to a certain skill before it maxes out. And then the only way to get points above and beyond that is to find your maximum or like plus to that skill on your different gear. Like right here, I've got the Frost Nova maxed out 5 out of 5, and then I get 5 more points from my gear. And that's a little bit similar to Diablo 2, where they would max out at level 20, and then you would get extra points from your gear to get it up to like 24 or whatever. And I don't know, it feels okay to me, and maybe this is going to be a hot take, but I almost wish that they would have the levels be 1 to 100, similar to kind of Diablo 2, where it was 1 to 99 and you get a skill point every time. I would almost like it to be that system where you get 100 skill points, not 50 skill points, and then the rest into Paragon. I think we should make the skill tree more robust a little bit. Add like 1 or 2 sections, add a couple abilities, have more like different paths. Like it seems super complicated, but it's really not. It's like your build is going to kind of map itself out once you understand the game and you play it for a couple 100 hours. You kind of know what you're going to take based on the build you're playing, and there's not as much choice as it seems. So I think there's an opportunity to switch the system at some point in the next year or two, where you go up to level 100, and then you have your 100 skill points to have a more robust skill tree where you're actually making some decisions based on how you want to play, and then having a Paragon system on top of that. Now, like I said, that may be a hot take because that's going to be Diablo 3-esque, and I love Diablo 3. I know a lot of people hate on Diablo 3, but I enjoyed it. And I did like the Paragon system. I like how it pseudo maxed out at 800 Paragon, and then you would just get main stat after that. It really gave you a feel of having a grind, of having a goal. You get to 800 Paragon, and then after that, you are still getting something for farming XP, but you're not going to get any more of kind of like the bonuses. You've unlocked all of those. Because that kind of takes me to the end game, which again isn't the biggest deal. I want the game to prioritize having a good experience for the casual player for sure. But you do need a good end game, because you do want the people that invest a ton of time in your game to have a good experience as well and stay in the community. So we do need to see a more robust end game eventually at some point. Now, we haven't seen a season go live yet, but it's like you're going to hit level 100 and then you really you can't farm any XP or anything. You can't really get stronger other than trying to find better rolled gear, and you've already like hit your max level on your glyphs. And it's like, I think maybe after 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, a season could get kind of stale, which I guess is kind of going to happen anyway. It happens in Diablo 3 as well. And I think you're going to need like certain leaderboards, or like solo self-found leaderboards, or clan leaderboards, or something that will make the system a little bit more robust. But I think there's a lot of room to improve the end game. And to be fair, it probably will. Diablo 3's endgame was complete trash when that game came out. You got to level 60 and you were done. Like, you beat Inferno, you were done. It was game over. So like, they did end up adding the Paragon system and adding the seasons and adding the torment levels and adding the infinite grind, and they did adjust the end game a lot. And the same thing is going to happen in Diablo 4. 2 years from now, Diablo 4 is going to look a lot different than it looks right now. After we get an expansion pack, we get a class or two, and they adjust the end game. But I do think right now it's a little bit worrisome. It's not the end of the world. I'm having a blast playing the game. But I think eventually when I hit level 100 and I've got the gear I want, it's going to be like, okay, I kind of beat the game. There's no leaderboard to pursue. There's really nothing to do at this point. And I think once you see some of the more end game people in the community hit that wall, they might be having some frustration. Which right now, like I said, is just a minor thing, because I do want the game to be prioritizing a good experience to the people that are level 40, level 50, and diving in and trying the game, not prioritizing the people that are playing 16 hours a day and are level 100, even though I do want both of those sides of the spectrum to have a good experience. Also, the stash and the storage system needs a lot of work. We need more stash tabs. We need specialized stash tabs, like in PoE, where they have the currency stash tab. We need like an aspect stash tab where it shows like your best aspect of each one, and then like your 2 or 3 alternates that you have saved up, and a special like aspect stash tab where it's very easy to lay it out and sort it. That's going to need to be in the game at some point, because it gets really wonky having to scroll through and read all of your aspects constantly, and or give each one of them like their own special sort of icon. You know how like skills have their special icon? Like, I know this is ice shards when I look at it, and I know this is firebolt when I look at it. It would be really cool if an aspect, if I knew what it was just by seeing it here in my stash. And if we get an aspect tab at some point, that would be incredible. So yeah, give us more tabs. You could even ramp up the cost if you want. Like, make them cost 1 million, 5 million, whatever. Make it a grind. I'm okay with that. But give us a gem stash tab, an aspect stash tab, a nightmare sigils stash tab, and elixirs stash tab. That would, how amazing would that be if you had that nice and broken down in your stash by everything, and just had it kind of laid out right in front of you. That alone would make Diablo from like a 6.5 to like an 8.5 in turn. That would add like 2 points to Diablo's score if they just made the storage system kind of what I was mentioning. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on where I sit right now. I'm having a blast. I'm hanging out on Discord, loving the game, and I think the future is bright for Diablo 4, but wanted to give you my honest and genuine thoughts on the good and the bad, and some of the things that could be addressed to make Diablo 4 as good as possible moving forward as we head into the future with Season 1 launching in July. And that is going to be amazing. I love seasons. I always came back to Diablo 3 to go hard in the paint on the seasons for 2 or 3 weeks and see how I could do in that first iteration of the season where I'm ranking on the leaderboard compared to everyone else and stuff. So I really hope they nail seasons and it can really breathe life into the game every few months. And I hope they release like new mechanics. I hope they add rune words and all sorts of different stuff to Diablo 4 and keep making it more and more robust. So let me know your thoughts down below, where you agree or disagree and all that. I really enjoy reading through your different perspectives as well. So that'll do it for me on this one. Subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Diablo 4 content, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace.